Hey, so this week I made Super Ninja Mikey, and this is if he made it himself. This is kind of what it would look like, but between those two frames I'm gonna do everything. Imagine my hands are green. Yeah, so they're like when you get a jug, those are from, I think, cashew milk and oat milk. But if you do like a Tropicana orange juice, you might get a green one. But I cut those out because they're a nice shape, but they're a little too big for the knee pad and the shoulder pad that I want it for. But this is a steel mesh that I bought a whole bunch years ago and never used them, but I'm using it for this. I just cut out a small piece and shape it to his shoulder, and that's gonna have some straps and eventually go on his shoulder. So now for the other pads, there are some like metal pads. He's got one on his shoulder, one on his knee, and I ended up using that tab from the juice container or milk container as the mold, and then I had a bunch of other Milliput left over, so I just made other shapes, and one big one that I cut lines to because he's got like a small round sewer grate on his forearm. Now I cover everything in a matte acrylic varnish, and that's going to work as my primer. I move on to a daffodil yellow. I'm not going to paint his green, I'm just going to go over it and add some details and highlights. So daffodil yellow is great for that, and I don't need to be careful. I want to get it on his inner shell and his skin, and I'm gonna paint all the pads and stuff, so if it gets on that, it doesn't really matter. Now I have a cinnamon brown. I'm using a toothpick to get in all the cracks in his shell there and bring out all the details, and then dry brush a little bit of the daffodil yellow over to blend it all together. Then I got a little bit of raw sienna on the brush, and I'm dry brushing that now just to darken it up and make it a little more punchy. And then I go back to the cinnamon brown and I do this back shell. Now I have a black primer mixed with a black acrylic, and it's an acrylic primer. Links down below if you want to check it out, but I had to use the primer because some piece like the metal I was painting black, it wouldn't stick. I could have used regular black here because I already used the acrylic varnish, but I was using this anyway, so why not? It sticks better. I probably might have wanted to do 2 coats if I just used the regular acrylic, but now I'm just following all the markings and stuff he has. I have a hunter green now because the grade on his arm is hunter green, and he's got another piece that's kind of camo, and I'm using a piece I made when I did Mystic Mikey, and I had some pieces left over that I made out of Epoxy sculpt. But yeah, that just fit fine there. Now I'm painting the mask black, but I'm not trying to get perfect because I figure he just like dyed a bunch of his orange stuff black, or he has, you know, a bunch of orange masks, because then the tip is still orange. So I don't think he went out and bought material that's like a strip of black with orange on 2 ends, and it was the perfect length. He dyed one of his orange ones black, but kind of tie-dyed and left the top out. Anyway, I cut a bamboo skewer for like food, and I cut 2 pieces of that. I usually go like twice the size of the hand for that's going to be nunchucks, and I just have some thin metal chain that I cut. That's going to be the chain part because he's got chain ones in this incarnation. I have a clover for the green. It's just a little darker than the color he is, and that's going to be all. He's got all the freckles. Yeah, freckles. Now I have hockey stick tape, and I just cut some thin strips that I'm using, well, just one white for a little section of his leg. Then I move on to black and do a whole bunch of the wraps in black. But now to get the chain to stick to the piece of wood, the skewer piece, I put tape through the chain and then tape it down and then wrap around to make it tight with the tape as well, because in the episodes his nunchucks and my references they have like white wraps and then they're wood in the middle, so that worked out. I only made one because I only saw him, he's usually only holding one in the reference. But now I'm covering everything with a matte acrylic varnish, the same varnish I used at the beginning, but now it's to seal everything up, not to get it ready for paint. I have some suede lace, and I wrap that around, and then I'm going to glue it to that, because if I just glued it to his leg, it would have a much greater chance of falling off. and it would more impede the movement. This way there's a buffer, so there's a little space so his legs can still move, and all the pieces I'm going to do kind of like that. Like the shoulder is gonna, or I put a strap around the top of the shoulder and I'm gonna glue it to that so he can still move his arm up and down, and that'll still have a little bit of movement because I left some of it loose. And then like that mesh one, I did the same. Now I hit a light black wash on the white parts to dirty them up and darken them up a bit. And now he has the sewer grate on his forearm there, so it's still connected to the hand, so when you turn the hand the whole piece will move. But then I wrapped around and it's got the buffer there of the thickness of the suede lace, so it can move pretty much all the way around. That's some before and after shots. And yeah, got 3 more of these guys are gonna come. This is what you saw at the beginning, but then we'll get a little extra because I can show you the whole costume now that you saw how he, I mean he made it, but he had human hands for like that 5 minutes that you just watched. Except it actually took like 8 to 10 hours, but I speeded up a lot. So until next time, remember, always keep your head up, and thanks for watching. Peace.